Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Harrison Talks Pod, episode 41. Today we're diving into one of the wildest weeks of Mavericks franchise history, and there's been a lot of those in the past year. Nico Harrison is out, of course, and the fallout of the Luka trade is still looming. So I want to talk about that in a whole big context today. And of course, Dirk Nowitzki spoke out, and that's a big deal. So we have to touch up on that as well. They had a double overtime loss to the Clippers, which was very rough. What does it say about the roster and what is next for the franchise in this new Cooper Flagg era? Then I discussed two franchises that I've been wrong about this season so far. And we'll get into why Nikola Jokic might be playing the best basketball of his career, why that is such a crazy statement, and why I think it still might be underappreciated. So let's get into it. Harrison Talks Pod, of course, is a part of Side Panel Network, and I've been saying, of course, a lot starting this show. I don't know why. Uh, Side Panel Network includes my YouTube gaming channel, Harrison Plays Games. Been doing almost daily uploads lately, so if possible, we do daily or at least a few days a week. A lot of driving games recently and simulation games. And then we have Nintendo Therapy that comes out every Friday, I believe. I'm over in Thailand. It might be Saturday. It might be Saturday. It comes out once a week on the weekend. I'm already yapping, so let's get into it. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things if you're on YouTube, and if you're somewhere else, make sure to subscribe there. All right, so last week I started the show talking about the Mavericks, their rough start. They were 1-5 before that episode last week. They have lost 3 games this week, correct? Oh man, I should have put that in the beginning of my notes. But one day after releasing that episode, Nico Harrison did get fired, and there was some good memes that came out of him at the game, and the chance to fire Nico going on, and gets fired less than a day after that. Let's kind of put everything into context from when he showed up in 2021, and it gives even more context of why this is all just so crazy and why we're just still not past it. I mean, of course, 2021 is when Nico Harrison comes into the Mavericks. But then I was thinking a lot this past week, especially with Dirk speaking out, and that's so unique for him. Uh, when has he ever said much of anything about this, about anything really? And it made me think about how there's just never been any closure. It was so unexpected, it was so abrupt, and Luca was what bridged that gap. It was so amazing to see Luca play as a rookie during Dirk's last year, which he didn't announce, but we thought it could very well be his last year. They gave him a whole like going away thing, I think, before he even announced it. And we assumed that we would see something similar with Luca. Maybe even sped up because we saw him in the Western Conference Finals. He has a higher ceiling than Dirk because he's a different type of player altogether. And we all love Dirk. We all do. And we expected to go through that process, him to grow as a Maverick, him to be the hometown guy, and then eventually get there, right? Win his MVPs, his All NBAs, and eventually get to that championship. And then he was just traded, and none of us really got over that. And that's to say that, I mean, all this goes back since Dirk showed up and he became the guy. And now they're kind of in the middle and they have to figure out how to transition. I would like to say that the fact that Nico's gone means that it makes it, it sounds all like a abusive relationship, but uh now there can be like serious closure and you can move on from that relationship. It was a relationship. Uh so yeah, I think there is the positive there, but Dirk making comments about it and then him making comments that they should have moved on in the summer just made me realize that, yeah, it's just all so crazy in the context of it. And Luka has mostly not slowed down, and I think is still in the top 2 to 4 players right now in the very early first month of this NBA season. So that's how I'll start it. Nico came in 2021. They wanted to build around Luka. They re-signed Luka to the max. I said that offseason that it doesn't matter what else you do. This is a successful season if Luka just has his extension. And then they moved Porzingis for Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. That unlocked more spacing, and then, of course, that ended the relationship with Porzingis and Luka, which just never worked in the long run. I have opinions of that, but it's mostly just speculation on why that relationship didn't work. My speculation was that it was not a one-sided thing. So that's all I can say. They got to the Western Conference Finals in that year one as well. So Nico being on the trajectory of being a rising star executive, or at least having more eyeballs on him, certainly happened immediately. And then in 2023, they trade for Kyrie Irving. It was at a pretty, I would say, expensive cost. Dorian Finney-Smith plus picks. Kyrie Irving is a risk for availability for multiple reasons. And Nico Harrison then doubles down during this time and then builds around Kyrie and Luka. And then, of course, this is after they don't resign Jalen Brunson. I guess we'll say that they lose him in free agency, and we've talked in length about on here about Jalen Brunson went to the Knicks, and his dad was there, and his Villanova buddies were there, so of course I would do the same thing. But I wish they were together though. I do. In 2024, they get Daniel Gafford, they get PJ Washington, who's supposed to come back tonight, or yeah, tonight. I'm recording late at night here in Thailand, and they get Derek Lively in the draft. They make it to the NBA Finals in 2024 after an unsuccessful 2023. So again, at this moment, Nico Harrison and the Mavericks are praised for all of the growth they did. And I think, most excited about this team than I had been in a long time. I think they resembled uh, a modern basketball team more than ever at this point, with their spacing and their defense and their depth. So, new ownership comes in. Cuban sells the majority stake in late 2023, which starts the Adelson Dumont era. I talked last week about how it's very unclear what their motivation is with that franchise, and any sort of deflection Nico Harrison has received the past week is not warranted. Of course, if you're a GM, you're responsible for GM duties. You're not the final say in it, but it does give nuance to say that I don't know what this team is planning to do in the future. I just hope that it's basketball and player empowerment related at least. So, February 2025, Luka Dončić, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and one pick. Of course, they send out a second round pick to the Lakers as well, viewed as illogical, reckless, very lopsided, and perhaps the most unexpected NBA trade ever, possibly. Did a ran home, did a whole emergency video that's still on the channel that was me mostly just losing my mind and going with no script at all. Kyrie tears ACL in March. Team goes 39-43 last season. They get a play-in exit, and then to start the season they went 3-8. Before Nico Harrison was fired. AD is already injured. PJ Washington was out, but he's supposed to be back tonight, as I mentioned. And it leaves speculation as to what they do next, but at least Nico Harrison is gone. Yay! Yay, he's gone. As I mentioned, Dirk, rarely speaks out. Dirk was the biggest era in Mavs basketball, the only championship, the only MVP, right? Only MVP, only one. And what Dirk says completely contradicts the front office, saying that the firing should happen in summer, and just kind of surprised by it, and I'm also just very happy by it as well. I mean, uh, are there Dirk haters out there? I know there's Dirk deniers or people that think that there's other players, other players in that era that were better. That's fine, but does anyone dislike Dirk? Let me know. I don't think so. So that was pretty shocking. I had to just talk about it a little bit more, and let's talk about their double overtime loss. It was their Cup group game, and yes, they are 3-10 overall now. They lost to the Clippers in double overtime, 133 to 127. It also means that the Mavericks are 0-2 in Cup play. James Harden had a 41 point, 14 assists, 11 rebound, triple double, had 10 points combined in the overtimes. And it's a night where the Mavericks competed, but mistakes down the stretch determined that outcome. D'Angelo Russell had a strong fourth quarter, excuse me. Najee Marshall had a good game again. His downhill scoring is great. And the Clippers just continually attacked the paint, something that we went over last week and something that we have just seen over and over the opponents against the Mavericks do. In overtime number one, James Harden had a go-ahead layup that was reversed on a goaltending review. Brandon Williams misses a runner at the buzzer to send them to a second overtime. Harden then takes over immediately in the second overtime with finishing, free throws, playmaking, and then Dallas collapses and loses by 6 points. Najee Marshall has been just a great role player for this team. And, when they lost Derek Jones and he came in, I even thought that was a small upgrade for this team. 28 points for him. Aggressive, confident, physical, has just been playing very well this season, in my opinion. D'Angelo Russell also had 28 points, but had 7 turnovers in this game, carried the offense throughout the fourth quarter, but also contributed to the loss in overtime. Kind of, I forget what week it was, but it was one of the episodes that we've done this season. You live and die with him. So you give and take. More SEO friendly way of saying that. Cooper Flagg, 16 points, had a team high 47 minutes. So this is a team we'll be looking at a lot with how they sort of build around him and support him as a rookie. They really need to just pace him out. It'll be interesting to see what the rookie of the year, what those rankings look like at the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, because I don't know what's going to happen. Anyways, Derek Lively came back, but he was on minutes restriction, had 17 minutes, but he had moments of burst. So we'll see him hopefully go up in minutes as the games go on. Klay Thompson had 13 points, 4 of 10 from three, was streaky, but helped with their overall spacing. And they were missing Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, who I said should be back tonight. And the Clippers had 58 points in the paint. Zubac was plus 25 and is plus minus. So the paint scoring on the interior is the way the Clippers won this game and the way that the Dallas Mavericks have lost many of their games so far. Along with turnovers, Dallas had 22 turnovers, which resulted in 23 Clippers points, which is just horrible, especially in a double overtime game, any game. When D'Angelo Russell was tired or went out, their half court offense did not look as good, and they initiated Cooper Flagg more during the overtime, but the late game structure overall was shaky, which resulted in bad decisions and resulted them losing in the double overtime. So I did watch this game, and it's worth mentioning that this team does compete hard, I think, overall. And I think there will be positives, and I will enjoy watching this team time to time, but it is going to be rough. I don't think they're going to be on the same pace. I think they will win more and more games, but it's hard to imagine that they would go on like a 6 game or 7 game win streak and get back into that 500 position to maybe get a play-in spot or something. It's hard to say it, 13 games into the season, already thinking about not even kind of being in that 10th place spot. And I totally had them in the play-in or even out of it in the playoffs this season. Talked about all the pressure that might be on Cooper Flagg as a rookie and such a young rookie going into a team that should compete in the playoffs. Not having AD is apparent in the front court. Not having Kyrie there is apparent with not having an offensive anchor and someone who can initiate their own offense. But there's really very no margin or no margin of error whatsoever with this team. And it's hard to kind of imagine how it improves even if you had a healthy AD or even if AD and Kyrie were both back together. I mean, yes, if this team was 100% healthy, they're probably more of a 500 team, but it is a huge struggle overall. Their shooting has looked horrible. We went through all the splits and all the 3-point numbers and all the ISO numbers that are just horrible. Worst ISO team in the league. Uh, Considering that you had the best ISO player, or second best ISO player, that's rough. That's rough. So, injuries are a lot, but they aren't everything. I just hope that they can just evaluate everything now. They're gonna look at both Kyrie and AD if they want to move them. But hopefully, with that, there is some sort of stability. And if not, play your young players. Give them some experience And at least there is positives, and maybe you can be a fun league pass team or something else. I think we should move on because this segment has gone on long. We will have our eyes on the Dallas Mavericks, and let's check in with them soon. Okay, now I want to do my Colin Coward segment, I guess, and talk about why I was wrong, or two teams that I was wrong about. And to be fun, I'll talk about a struggling team first that I was wrong about, and then a team that's doing well that I was also wrong about for the opposite reason. The first one, unfortunately, is the Indiana Pacers. And I did not think they would be a playoff team in the East without Halliburton, but I did think they would be competitive. And what's happened is the worst start in their franchise's history at 1-12. I have watched a lot of their games, and even in their opening game, I thought against the Thunder, I thought that they looked competitive, and I thought they were going to be this gritty team that still has a player in Pascal Siakam that is a uh, past All Star and fringe All Star player. But even though they've had some close games, they've had some very bad blowouts, and that has resulted in only one win on the season. Their net rating is minus 14.6, which is second worst, only to the Wizards. It's worth mentioning that right now there are three teams in the East that only have one win: Wizards, Pacers, and Nets. This might be historic. We might see three teams in the East get under 20 wins for the season. Who knows? Their average loss is almost the same at minus 14 and a half. Out of the 13 games, they're almost all double-digit losses. So yeah, first game was close. There's a couple competitive games in there. Most of them are pretty bad. It's a broken roster. It's not a team that is in a slump. Uh, their defensive rating is at 118.9, which is bottom three in the league. Their opponents are almost always scoring more than 123 points against them. 55.2 points in the paint allowed. They gave up 78 points in the paint to Toronto in their last game, and 33 fast break points in that same game. So getting getting destroyed on the inside, getting destroyed in transition, defense to offense, just not looking good. And some of it is effort as well. It really is just that basic effort. While having a bottom three defense, they have a bottom three offense at 104.3, 40% from the field, 30% from three, 40% EFG, just really, really bad. At the rim, they're shooting 58%. I mean, it's just a very, very rough time in Indiana right now with their offense. And I'm not even going to speculate what it would be with Halliburton or like. I just they got off to a rough start at the beginning of last season, right? Right? I think it would be a struggle no matter what was on the floor right now, unless Halliburton just turns on the gas with this team and just changes their effort. So let's talk about their last game against Toronto a little bit further. They were up 10 early, and their starters ended at a +3, but their bench players were a -21 combined. Raptors shot 59% overall, and I mentioned they had 78 points in the paint. Siakam and Andrew Nembhard combined for 52 points, excuse me, but they still lost by 18 points. So even, I mean, if they're the two best players on the floor for Indiana right now, even if your best players dominate, they are still losing games. So they can opponents can just let Siakam shoot, I guess. It's been a struggle. It has not been the most fun to watch for a team that was super fun to watch, of course, last year, and has a coach in Rick Carlisle that I do believe in quite a bit. We'll see what the future is there. Rick Carlisle has been trying different lineups, but nothing really seems to be working right now, and a lot of the young players seem to be overextended as well. Like Ben Shepherd struggling against Brandon Ingram, defending him, Jarris Walker, uh, his shooting struggles, and a lot of the vets on this team, especially in their front court, and not having Miles Turner this year has been a struggle as well. Some of them have not been playable for Indiana. So it's not just in one area, it's just their overall depth. Just really, really overall, especially when they go to their bench, which was shown in this last game. So Rick Carlisle is trying rotations. It's just that there seems to not be a three-man lineup to put around Siakam that really seems to be working and structural and provide good spacing and good offense that this team desperately needs. It needs shooting, creating, it needs a stronger front court and rim deterrence, it needs better transition, it just needs better effort overall. And it's where I was wrong. Again, I did not think that this would be a finals team again. I did not think this was going to be a playoff team again this season without Halliburton. But I certainly thought that they would compete with teams and they would make it difficult for a lot of teams. And just so far, I've been very wrong. I usually try to give more positives, but hey, if you're an Indiana fan, hang in there. I support you guys. Small Midwest town, not small Midwest town, but you get it. Small market franchise. But the structure is collapsing right now. Maybe focus on the lottery and the good draft they have coming out. Find your identity. Now, let's get to a positive. And while it's positive, I get no satisfaction that we are going to talk about the team that we talk about the most on this podcast, and it is the Los Angeles Lakers. But I was very wrong about this team, and whenever a team is playing well and I was wrong, I'm happy about it. Even if it is the Lakers or any other big market team that I like to root against in the playoffs or whatever. But it's not about me, even though it is me saying that I am wrong. I thought that this team would struggle, especially on the offensive end without LeBron, and I underestimated their off season and what some players like Marcus Smart or what some players' impact would have overall. Along with Luka Dončić being in great shape, and besides like one or two games, just having an incredible, incredible season. So they've had early success without LeBron. Not sure if he's coming back next week. I know there was speculation on that. I know he's with the G League. I know it was fun, seeing Bronny in the starting lineup, and then LeBron is rehabbing, so there will always remember that sort of time. And they are 10-4 currently. They are a top 10 offense at 116.3 points per game. Their field goal percentage is above 50% for the first time in years, so far. And their effective field goal percentage is above 57%, which is their highest in a very, very long time. There's a lot of reasons why it's not just luck, it's an overall improvement looking at their shot selection and their shot taking. 39% other shots come at the rim, and 68% of them come within 10 feet. And watching Luka play and his kind of hot streak to start the season, although he has missed some games as well, it's not that much of a surprise. What is a surprise constantly is Luka's playmaking. And hey, if you're playing against Luka, please do not give him the backside on a player. Like, do not let a player go downhill on you because, like in the last game, just all the passes over defenders to the big man, he just does it better than anyone, whether it's Jackson Hayes or Rui Hachimura. It just happens over and over again. And after a while, I'm like, put someone on the backside and, offer some help because, he can make that pass easily. So 116, they're up, from 113 so far last year. Their shooting is up 3%. Their free throw attempts is up by more than 5. So that's a huge key factor as well, is that they're getting to the line at a much bigger percentage than they were last year. And with that, their three-point attempts are down. They're only, I say only compared to other teams at 32.4 attempts. So, like for me, I really enjoy it. Like they are playing a brand of basketball that I really like, and players like Rui Hachimura, who I think is great. He's playing better than I expected. Players who I don't really like DeAndre Ayton, are playing way better than I expected. Although, if he's motivated playing alongside Luka Doncic, there's really no excuse for him at all. They held Milwaukee to 34 first half points. It was an effort from the Lakers, but it was also just horrible, horrible offense from the Milwaukee Bucks. It's uh, it's the Lakers' best defensive half since January 2021. It was the worst offensive half for Milwaukee this season, but I wonder how far back that goes because I can't remember a Milwaukee offense that looked rougher than that. I mean, 10 points in the first 10 minutes, I think, in that game. And uh, they yeah, after a 15-0 Milwaukee run in the second half, right? It did drop to single digits, but it was mostly a double-digit lead for, yes, most of the game. Luka Dončić had 41 points, 18 of 20 from the free throw line, and just controlled every swing movement that was on the floor, every swing moment, I meant to say. But hey, swing movement, I like it. Same thing. He controlled that as well. DeAndre Ayton, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 9 of 13 from the field. Has been looking a lot more mobile than I anticipated. Austin Reeves, paired with Luka, was 50% from the field, 50% from the three, and uh, combined. Uh, Wait, how many points did he have? Didn't write it down. Never mind. Go check. Maxi Kleba was a plus 22 off the bench. Um, was a great floor spacer, set great screens, had great defensive spacing, doesn't connect, had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, had some of his best minutes of the season as well. So, I have high hopes about him. Jackson Hayes, 10 points, 6 rebounds. And unfortunately will mess up his name. Is it Adu? Dior? The rookie that got the dunk, he got the debut, his points, and then they fought over the basketball at the end for whatever reason. Just give him the basketball. What was that deal about? If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. But Giannis came up at the end and then just took the basketball and gave it to him. So I guess Giannis is in charge of everything. I don't know what the rules are. So with Luka and without LeBron, high efficiency twos, decent rim pressure, elite free throw rate, and I think their roles are very clear on this team. A surprise, and I don't have a big opinion of JJ Redick's coaching. He had the same record as Darvin Ham did last season, pretty much, right? So, but it does seem like he's figured out the identity of this team more, and it seems like this team is buying into their own system, which will change when they get LeBron back on the floor as well. But I don't see it getting worse, especially since you're playing a brand of basketball that LeBron likes to play already. So from the opening night where they lost, I thought that this team would struggle with their spacing and their shooting, but actually they focused less on the three ball, and it's been very, very nice to watch. Unless you are a Mavericks fan. They are 7-2 on the road. On the road, they are averaging 115 points per game plus 2.5 in their net rating. Their 3-point percentage is only at 35%, but again, their attempts are way down and way below, well, not way, below the NBA average. So I think it's a lot more than just a hot start or luck or strength of schedule or anything like that. There's a lot of optimism around this team. And I think once LeBron comes in, you just have no issue putting him into the rotation. So that's it. I'm happy to be wrong about that, of course. I think they'll be in the top four to finish the season, but the West is difficult. And speaking of which, we got to talk about some Western and Eastern players right now for our last segment of today. All right, I gave you my Fox Sports Colin Coward segment, so now I can give you my ESPN segment. And I'm going to call it Nikola Jokic Derangement, or is he still the best in the league? And this is inspired by ESPN, of course, and a conversation they had a few days ago, this week, about early MVP odds and who's playing the best so far in this first 10 games, first month of this season. And the comparisons are always interesting, although I know that's the main point of the conversation is to compare these players. So they talk early MVP. Charles Barkley says Luka Dončić is unbelievable, but Jokic is the MVP so far. And Shaq says to not discredit Victor Wembanyama. We're going to break down all of these players. Kenny Jet Smith brings up Luka Dončić being in great shape, and uh, just it seems odd to not give Jokic as much credit for what he is doing. And I wonder if the main reason is because he's won 3 MVPs and he's gone on this 5 or so year run where he's, I think, in my opinion, been the best in the league. Or what else is it? I mean, what else is it? Is it that he's a kind of a different MVP, perhaps? I mean, he is a foreign player, but also he's more of someone who gets his points in a unique way and is a great team player, but also doesn't seem to care as much about those accolades, or at least is not as vocal about it. Correct? Not sure. Not sure. I seem to think it's more Jokic voter fatigue, like he's always good. And then we have other players we can talk about Giannis has won MVP, but he's playing great. Luka has never won one. He should win one eventually. And he's on a team that's playing great right now. Wemby is everything, 21 years old, and is looking like the shiny new star in this league, and could very well be the defensive player of the year. Could very well be the MVP. Who knows? Who knows how the season goes? But it seems to be interesting, and it's worth mentioning too that after this conversation shifted to talks about efficiency and offense and everything, that Jokic had 55 points that night. So yeah, Jokic with that is averaging a triple double on the season. He is 28, 13, and 11, 67% from the field. I mean, his efficiency numbers go up every season almost. But he's on track to do something that would be above what he's already done already. And it's just very, very surprising. None of this is anti other player. We do have to compare, and we'll circle back around to other players that are in the top right now in the MVP odds. But we have to talk a little bit more about just the ridiculousness of all of this. I mean, I mentioned 67% from the field. His true shooting percentage is 77%, which is second in the NBA. For a big that, watch him play, watch him space the floor as much as he does, and he's shooting 77% true shooting, 73% effective field goal percentage for someone who is averaging 28 points per game. In the player tracking, he is 75% on tight contests and 62% when he's wide open. So go figure that. 47% on wide open threes, 67% on catch and shoot. When he takes 3 to 6 dribbles, he's shooting 80% from the field. It's just it's just absolutely ridiculous. I know I'm throwing out a lot of numbers, but as I watch the games and I go back and I go through it all, it seems to be unreal. Along with all of that scoring that goes on, 49% assist percentage, which is number one in the NBA. He's averaging 10.9 assists per game, which is top in the NBA as a center also. His assist to turnover ratio is 3.3, which is better than the majority of any point guards that are in the league right now. And he's just controlling all of Denver's offensive system when he's on the floor, which he has been doing. I don't see how he's not the top MVP candidate when you consider no one else is this elite at scoring, rebounding, and playmaking. You can throw the defense, and again, let's circle around to all of that, but I just don't see how he could not be. I think to me, he's just in that tier all by himself, and that's exactly where he was last season, too. For the MVP predicting stats, he's leading in box plus minus, he's leading in player efficiency rating, in value over replacement, and he's leading in win shares. These are all stats that you would look at for predicting MVP, and he is leading in all of them. His on off, he is a plus 24.6, and he adds nearly 25 points per 100 possessions. He is 5.7 in the plus minus above SGA, who won MVP last year. He is 20 points better in the most important impact metric. And I got to stop the numbers right there, but all this leads to saying that he is on pace for having his best season and most efficient season of all time. Can he do a whole season where he's 70% from the field, averaging a triple double? I really don't know. But to close that part off, he is currently 28 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists on 67% from the field, 43% from three, and 88% from the line. He he almost has like a 70-40-90 on the year. Has that ever happened before? So I don't it feels like the arrangement system, even though I understand there are players that have huge performances and or have great averages, and I understand Jokic isn't the defensive player of the year that other people are. Speaking of which, let's talk about Wembanyama. Let's talk about who might be the most fun player to watch, and is just like he's just like a 2K player out there. I swear. It's just every game it's like, what? Like he does at least one thing that you have to shake your head at. Uh he might be the best two-way player in the league right now at 21 years old, and that's really fun to talk about, right? Averaging 26.2 points, 12.9 rebounds, 4 assists, and has 3.6 blocks. I didn't look it up, but that is more than some teams' average per game combined. They are the Spurs are way above expectations, and a lot of it has to do with him. He is already a top tier rim protector. I mean, pretty much came into the league that way. If the Spurs stay winning and stay at the top of the West, there is a clear narrative for him to be MVP. Never won it, young player, up and coming star. If he has a top team in the top conference, I can see why he might win. Luka Dončić, best offensive engine in the league so far. 34.4 points per game, 8.9 assists, 8.9 rebounds, almost at a 35-point triple double. Even on games where, even though he's had games where I think he's had like 21 points one game. Um, he leads the NBA in usage, no surprise there at 35.9%. Uh, the Lakers win because uh, Luka can bend every defense that gets thrown at him. So he might be the true MVP if the Lakers can stay at the top, but we'll kind of see how that team goes. He also is playing alongside LeBron James very, very soon. So we'll see there. He's going to have his MVP season sooner than later. The narrative is going to be there if he has a good enough team that wins enough around him. And then Giannis, we can put him as most physically dominant player in the league, perhaps. 32.6 points per game, wow, 11.3 rebounds, 7.1 assists. That's great. 63% from the field, unstoppable downhill, adjusting to the new coach, not having Damian Lillard around him, but might have an improved team this season. He's shooting 60% on over 20 shots per game. And I think if the Bucks can be at least top two in the East, there is a strong case for Giannis this season as well. So even though I think Jokic is the best by far, I think there are four and perhaps more than that down the road, cases of people that could make a very good MVP statement. So, Jokic, I think, is still very different in all the ways that I said, triple double, highest efficiency, great team, just anchoring the offense more than anyone else is for their own team. And I just, that's it. That's all. I can't keep saying it. I think he's the best. Uh, could he be top 10 when it's all said and done? I think him and Steph Curry are the two most disruptive players in the NBA this past decade or so. But that's a bigger conversation I can't get into. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. And if you're on Spotify, leave a comment there. All of that helps with the algorithm and get my voice, my podcast out there. I also do blogs along with this podcast, speaking exactly about what I talk about on here. So it's all very efficient for me. But check that out if you enjoy that side of things as well. Have a great MVP week. Why not? Have a great NBA week as well. I'll see you next time.